Narcissist is a term often used because they're everywhere. Maybe it's your boss or your mother-in-law, wife, husband, or best friend. My name is Yari Scott, and as a therapist and relationship coach, I've counseled hundreds of survivors, people who've been verbally and emotionally abused. My mission is to help raise awareness, help you heal from past trauma, have great relationships, and step confidently into the next level of your life. Each week, one episode will air featuring therapeutic advice, live coaching, and tips showing you exactly how to improve your relationships. You deserve to feel empowered, secure, and loved. So, if you're dealing with a narcissist, or you want to learn how to spot and avoid the narcissistic trap, this podcast is for you. Welcome, wonderful listeners, to another episode of Freedom from the Narcissistic Trap. I'm your host, Yari Scott, a licensed professional counselor and a relationship coach, and I'm here to help you navigate the journey towards recovery from trauma and abuse. Each week, we dive into the heartfelt letters sent in by brave individuals looking for guidance and support. I'll be providing real-life therapeutic advice, practical tips, and strategies to assist in breaking free from the clutches of narcissistic relationships. Now, before we kick off today's episode, a quick disclaimer. While the advice shared here is rooted in therapeutic principles, this podcast is not a substitute for real-life therapy. It's critical to seek support and professional help if needed. Today's letter comes from a remarkable woman whose name, of course, we've changed for confidentiality. Her story is a sensitive one, revolving around her relationship with her mother and concerns for her own daughter. I want to extend a warm welcome to our guest for her courage and shaping her experiences with us. It takes an immense strength to open up about such personal matters. So Lisa, thank you for writing in. Your willingness to explore this challenging topic is not only an inspiration, but also a testament to your resilience. We appreciate you, and I want to let you know that we're here to offer support and understanding. To all of my beautiful listeners, this is a deeply emotional episode, and we approach it with respect and sensitivity it deserves. So join me in sending thoughts of strength and support to our guest as we dive into her story and work towards healing and freedom from the narcissistic trap. The letter reads, "Hi there. I hope this message finds you well. I've been listening to you for a while on Instagram, and I was excited to see that you started a podcast. It feels like the perfect space to share my story. I'm dealing with some pretty heavy stuff, and honestly, I could use a bit of advice or just some understanding. Here's the deal. I've got a mom who, bless her heart, is a textbook narcissist. She never really has been there for me emotionally. It's like every time I have a problem, she somehow manages to make it about herself. It's been a tough ride, and I'm feeling hurt and confused. One of my earliest memories is her comparing me to my older sister. She started saying things like, "I'm glad you're the strong one," or "I'm glad you're resilient." It sounds like a compliment, right? But it feels like she was saying, "I'm glad you don't need me the way your sister does." My needs always seem to be brushed aside like they don't matter. I've been her confidant for as long as I can remember. She's dumped her dating drama, job losses, and emotional baggage on me. I had to support her in ways as a child I shouldn't have. And then the guilt trips, they're relentless. There was this one time in middle school when I wanted to go on a class trip, and she hit me with, "Why do you want to leave me? I need you here." It broke my heart, so I stayed behind. High school wasn't any easier. I started dating and experimenting with drugs, and when I reached out, to her for help, she downplayed everything, saying I was just being dramatic. College was a whole mess. I dropped out due to depression, started therapy, and she found my antidepressants. She told me I didn't need them. Now, as an adult, it's like I'm jumping through hoops to please her. She's never satisfied, not with who I'm dating, not with my career choices. She nitpicks at my daughter, her looks, and pressuring me to marry. I'm genuinely scared that this cycle of toxicity is going to pass down to my daughter, and that's the last thing I want. I guess what I'm asking is, how do I break free from this cycle? How do I set boundaries without feeling guilty? And how do I make sure that my daughter grows up in a healthy environment? I'm lost, and any advice you or your listeners can offer me would mean the world. Thank you for creating this space where we can share our struggles. Sincerely, Lisa. First, I want to start off by saying that there is no perfect parent. Parenting does not come with a manual. Most parents will say that they did their best, the best that they could. There's always going to be something that they could have done better or that they should have avoided. All of us can reflect on how we were parented and how we are parenting. And there are absolutely things that we could have done better. However, I want to address that as a therapist, I've witnessed parents who are incredibly toxic and narcissistic and how it's impacted their children's adult lives. What is heartbreaking is when I have adolescents come in and tell me about the toxic living environment or the toxic behavior. And unfortunately, they're underage and that there's nowhere for them to go. And we all know that emotional abuse is a lot harder to document because it's very covert. And my heart just goes out to these children and these teens. When a mother decides to bring a child into the world, she doesn't get to pick and choose which needs she addresses. Emotional needs are just as important as physical needs. And unfortunately, some women have the God-given ability to produce children, but they do not have the ability to raise and nurture their children. The worst kind of mother in the world, in my opinion, is self-centered, controlling, and narcissistic. The world revolves around them and their needs, their desires. They just see their children as property. Have you ever witnessed a mother who truly believes that she owns her child? She owns the choices and the decisions that they make, and they need to jump through hoops to get her approval? They are not here to just check off boxes. But let's get into this letter. Let's break down some of these narcissistic traits exhibited by Lisa's mother. As a mental health therapist, it is crucial for us to recognize these patterns so that we develop effective strategies for healing and setting boundaries. The first thing I want to address is the lack of empathy. It sounds like your mother consistently failed to connect with your emotional needs. Understand that empathy is not something that everyone possesses, especially with narcissists. Empathy is a cornerstone for healthy relationships. And your mother's inability to truly understand and validate your feelings is a red flag. Now, this can be a really hard pill to swallow, to sit with yourself and say, my mom lacks empathy. And sometimes we have expectations based on what we see and hear from other people's mothers or parental figures or what you give to your daughter. But understanding and really coming to the acceptance of narcissists lack empathy. And so I want you to seek support from your friends, your family, or therapists that can help you get what you need, because it makes no sense to continue going to a well that's dry. unless your mom wants to work on developing empathy and compassion for you, then there's nothing that you can do to make her. Everything seemed to revolve around your mother, even when you wrote about your childhood, how there were things that you needed her to tend to, like your mental health or friendship issues, but she didn't have the time because she was either busy comparing you to your sister or confiding in you about adult matters. Your mother consistently puts herself at the center of the narrative. Now, in order to deal with her in a respectable way, boundaries will be crucial. I want you to recognize that it's okay for you to prioritize your own needs and your daughter's well being. Establish clear limits on what topics are off limits for discussion. This will help you protect your emotional space. Now, guilt tripping is textbook narcissism. Your mother resorts to guilt tripping in order to manipulate you. She makes you feel responsible for her emotional well being. She makes you feel responsible for what she's going through. She's confiding in you on topics that you are not comfortable with. And this is emotional manipulation. And this is so damaging. It's like you need her to be your mom, but instead you're being her mom. The tip that I have for you is to recognize when she is guilt tripping you. Knowledge is power. When talking to your mom, I want you to be able to distinguish whether there's a genuine concern or whether it's a manipulation strategy. Respond assertively, but be empathetic. And if this doesn't work, if you try these tips and they're just not working and you need space and time, or you need to press pause on this relationship, understand that that's okay too. Lisa, another thing that I noticed is that she downplays your struggles. Whether it's from high school or elementary or college, there were some serious things that you wanted to confide in her about. It sounds like mental health, drugs, friendship, dating. She might not be the one that you go to for that space. I understand she's your mom, but that does not necessarily mean that she's your emotional support. Now, this is a tough one that I want everyone to kind of grab a pen and paper and take note on. We have to learn to build our own self-validation. We cannot seek validation from external sources because we will be disappointed. Trust your own feelings and seek validation from within. Now, I have seen with working with narcissistic mothers that they are seeking perfectionism. They're seeking perfectionism because of their own insecurities or because there are things that they did not accomplish that they wanted to accomplish. So they put those demands on their own children. So your mom's dissatisfaction with your life choices and your relationship reflects a perfectionistic tendency. Nothing seems to meet her standards, and this contributes to your feelings of inadequacy. So my tip for you is to define your own values and standards separate from your mother's expectations. This can foster a healthier sense of self. Lisa, when I read your letter, I immediately thought back to a client that I had a little while ago. She walked into my office carrying the weight and years of abuse from her father. She was so delicate and so wounded. And we started working together, and it became apparent that Emma's father used her as a puppet. He gaslit, manipulated, and he had a constant need for attention, and it left Emma questioning her own worth. She wanted to break free from his control. And she shared one thing that has stuck with me. She said that one year she had a huge presentation and it went really well, and she was getting accolades from that. And her father completely made it about him. She said that was the worst moment of her life. She felt humiliated and hurt. And in that moment, that's when she decided that she needed help or she was going to completely remove him from her life. And together we navigated the complexities of narcissistic abuse. We started to peel back the layers. And it was a journey of rediscovery. And she gained strength that was always there. Ultimately, she had to make the decision that was best for her. And that meant putting some space and time in between their relationship so that she could understand how she wanted to be loved and what she deserved. Her story is just a testament to the strength that we have within. It's a reminder that we all can heal from any abuse that we've endured. Anything is possible when you put yourself first. I want to leave this with you. Life is a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and ultimately freedom. Well, guys, that's a wrap for today's episode. Lisa, I hope that this information resonates with you, and thank you for helping us to shed light. Remember, you're not alone, and there's always hope for change. If you have a story you'd like to share or a situation you need advice on, please don't hesitate to send us a letter. My email address is therapy, therapywrk@gmail.com. All letters will be anonymous, and we'd love to dive into your experiences together. And to my incredible listeners, if you're feeling the weight of a challenging relationship or seeking support in your healing journey, I offer one-on-one therapy and coaching sessions. Remember, you're stronger than you think, and you deserve a life free from toxicity. You can reach me by calling me at 678-468-5090. If you're on Instagram, please follow me on Therapy Works, and please share this with a friend who might be in need. Thank you for being a part of this community, and until next time, take care of yourselves. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Come follow me over on Instagram and join my free Survivor Facebook group. But most importantly, share this episode. Each and every person who learns about narcissism has an opportunity to avoid the trap. So until next time, I'm wishing you high self-worth and great relationships. Thanks for being a part of this community.